As usual, it has been a very long time since the last time I've recorded this, so nothing unusual there. And this is going to be our exploring this area and trying to find all the clue bottles segment, which basically means there's two ways that I could do this, one of them making a lot of sense and one of them making no sense. And I'm going to be doing the one that makes no sense, because that's how I am. The best way to handle this would be... oh, shit. Best way to handle this would be to basically just look at a video that actually finds all the stuff anyway, and use that as reference, and just kind of get it done in like 15 minutes. But, of course I'm not going to be doing that. Instead, we're going to be, well, first of all, getting killed by random people immediately and reloading. But no, what I'm going to be doing is just kind of wandering around and hoping to find everything, and if I fail, then I'll refer to a map that I have open. But unlike the last few times I've done this, I actually plan on basically doing it all in post-commentary. I wanted to start with this live intro just to prove that I am horrible at playing this game while trying to commentate. Just in case that hasn't been made evident in the previous 7 segments of this. But, yeah, I've got some questions prepared, and I'll basically just answer those over the footage, since it's not like I'd be talking about the game anyway. Basically, all of my commentary would boil down to, okay, how do I get over here? Alright, I'll jump on this thing. Oh shit, there's some guards. Oh, okay, now I've dealt with those. Now let's go head over here. And basically just repeat that for all eternity, and then, yeah. So, I found one of the bottles. I would like to know how to get on this tree to get more, because I'm pretty sure there is one up there. But, I guess I will figure that out in the yesteryear. I don't even know. So, yeah. Let's go ahead and do post-commentary then. I think it'll honestly be better. And here we go with what is probably going to be an hour of completely unscripted rambling. It just depends on how long this takes. I don't know how I'm going to get that much material out of this. Honestly, I wouldn't even mind if most of the video was sped up, because, my god, it takes me a while to find them. But, anyway, going through the questions that I received in the last video and in the Discord chat, just kind of in the order that I saw them. I'm going to address all of them, even if I don't have any material. Starting with, have you ever had to hide Bubsy or the fact that you have a cat, other than the story that I already told? No. No, I don't think we have. The instance where we did have to do that was when the air conditioning went out, and I believe I already talked about that to a pretty decent extent. I don't really need to go into it again. Air conditioning is working fine now, though, and since then, we've also had the toilet have problems, and we had someone come in to fix that, and we made no effort to hide the cat. And last week, we also had a washer and dryer brought in, and I don't think the cat was a problem with that either, but I wasn't actually home for it. I will point out that for that one, it was a bit of a ordeal getting them in, because second floor apartment, they're heavy bits of machinery. I assume they had some hard time getting them up here, but again, I wasn't here to see it. But the kitchen layout is, like, we basically had to get them into the room on the far end of the kitchen, which is just sort of like a little pantry-ish area, because that's where the hookups for them are. And to get them there, the fridge had to be moved, and I understand that that was a bit of a pain in the ass, because there's these giant, awful, like, dents in the floor now, right in front of the fridge from when they tried to move it, I guess. It, like, scraped up against the floor and kind of ruined it. We also have kind of, like, these opening door, like, I don't know, it's like a double door thing leading to the kitchen, which is totally pointless, so we just constantly leave it open, and they're not really blocking the kitchen in any way, but we still, like, tried to take them down anyway, just to make sure, because the fridge sticking out is a good, like, maybe 10 inches. What the doors would be, like, a millimeter, if that, so I don't even know why we bothered doing that. But they got them in. It took us a while to hook them up because apparently the proper, like, pipes or hose or something didn't come with it, so we had to go get those and something. I don't freaking know. But they're hooked up now, which is good, because going to the laundromat is always kind of a pain in the ass. There's a decent laundromat near us that, but this is going on a totally different tangent than the related one. I'm expecting this to happen quite a few times in this. But the nearby laundromat has a deal where if you come in on a weekday morning, like before 12, there's certain washing machines that only cost 99 cents for a load, and the dryers are only 25 cents for 8 minutes. So, we'd usually try to hit that one up, and just due to conflicting schedules and a desire to not want to go there because it's kind of boring and usually overheated and shitty. So basically, we just have laundry pile up for like close to a month, and it sucks ass. Once you get down to the part where the point where there's like 2 pairs of underwear, and I've already been wearing most of my socks for like 4 days each, and my work shirts are like completely fucking disgusting. It's like, okay, I think it's about time to go. So thankfully we don't have to do that anymore. I actually have a load of sheets in there right now that I need to take out and put in the dryer. I've been putting that off because I don't want the dryer running while I'm recording. I could have actually done it while I was recording the previous footage. I didn't think about that. So I guess I'm just gonna do it after this or something. I don't know. I still kind of want to record Mario Kart after this, but we'll see. So, I think that's about enough of a tangent on that one. I could mention how at the laundromat there used to be this Mexican lady that would always walk around and try to sell people tamales. I haven't seen her in a while, though. They would also have a TV that was usually either The Price is Right or SpongeBob. And of course you can't hear it at all, so you just read the subtitles. But there's also another TV that would just kind of show these weird, like, do-it-yourself projects in, like, a YouTube style where it's, like, the camera pointing straight down. I have no idea what that thing was, because it didn't seem to be, like, an actual channel. It was just, like, random videos playing, so that's kind of weird. Last time we went to the laundromat, I remember they were having some kind of problem with, like, the card readers or something, and so the way it works is they have this one machine where you get like it's not like a proper credit card, you get like a card for the laundromat specifically, and then like you put that in the machine, and then you put dollars in it, and it like puts the money on your account. Apparently they stopped reading those, and so they just kind of had these people walking around with notepads, like tracking how much you are using, and then you had to like pay them at the end of it, and it was really stupid. But God, I'm trying to think if there's any other stupid laundromat related stories now that I'm on the subject. I can't really think of any. It's usually just you get there, you set up the the machines, you wait half an hour, move it over to the dryer, wait another 45 minutes, and then that's it, basically your morning. But yeah, I think that's about enough of that one. So, jigsaw puzzles. I've done a few. I don't know what else to say about them, really. I know we have this Majora's Mask puzzle that was about 75% completed like a while ago, like last year, and then just kind of gave up on it because every single remaining piece was black. And it was just kind of like, fuck it at that point. And it's like, we might go around and finish it at some point. Never did. So that one just kind of got all taken apart and put back in the box. I mean, what is there to say about jigsaw puzzles? They feel like the biggest waste of time that you could ever do, which is odd coming from me because I spend like 90% of my time just reading random bullshit on the internet that doesn't further me as a human being in any way, and that's no worse than putting together a puzzle. But I don't know, I always feel like they're about the lowest form of entertainment that you can get, and maybe that's like ill-deserved for me to say that, but that's just how I've always felt. I do like how there are puzzles that exist that are just basically troll puzzles. Like, you've got the ones that are just all white, or the ones where, like, it comes with extra pieces that don't fit anywhere, and there's no edge pieces, like, the edge ends with the jagged, like, bumps and nubs. Never did one of those, but I know they exist, and they're awful. Then there's the 3D puzzles, where it's always based off of some monument, so it's like, now you can have Big Ben made out of puffy styrofoam puzzle pieces. Aren't you special? I don't know. I'm being, like, very aggressive towards puzzles for some reason. But, I think that's about all I can say about them. Their greatest contribution to culture, as far as I'm concerned, is the Banjo series. So, foods that tasted different when I was a kid. I don't know if there really are any. I know my tastes have changed. I guess this isn't exactly the question, but it's related. I know that when I was a kid, either my family was very restrictive with what they'd let me eat, or I was just extremely picky and a shitty person. Because the very first burger that I ever had was when Space Jam came out. Because we saw the movie in the theater, like my grandma and I, and then I went to McDonald's afterwards and they had Space Jam toys. And every time we would go to McDonald's, I would usually just get the chicken nuggets, but this time I'm like, I'm actually going to try a burger this time. And I tried it, and I thought it was good. So I was like, what, 8, maybe, when that was? I don't know when Space Jam came out. So it was definitely older than I think probably most kids would have had one, at least ones that are exposed to fast food fairly often. And as stupid as this one's going to sound, I was actually kind of the same way with pizza, though not as bad, because there was a Little Caesars pizza, like, in the Kmart. Why does every Kmart have a Little Caesars in it? I don't understand that, but there was one in a Kmart that we used to go to when I was really little, and I remember I would basically just eat the crazy bread, which, if you've never been to Little Caesars, is basically just breadsticks, but they're like undercooked. Okay, that's a bad way to put it. They're not undercooked because they're not doughy. They're very light and fluffy, though. And they have about 75 pounds of Parmesan cheese and garlic on them. So they're actually really freaking good. Like, Little Caesars pizza is not great, but it's okay. And the crazy bread is basically the reason you go there. But yeah, as a kid, I would always just eat that. And I think it, like, took a while before I actually started having pizza from there. I have no idea why. I also could be remembering that wrong. That doesn't sound like something that my mom would let me do, but I don't know. I was the first child, and she probably didn't ever want to say no to me, because I was kind of a spoiled brat, so sure, she probably just let me eat bread. But, yeah, I pretty much would only ever eat cheese pizza. I think my first time ever having pepperoni was when there was a, it wasn't a Lunchable, but it was something similar to that. It was just kind of like one of those little kits where you build your own pizza, and it gives you, like, a couple little stiff pieces of wooden dough, and, like, a tube of sauce and, like, some cheese and stuff, and, it probably had, like, the little plastic stick that you use to spread the sauce, which, for some reason, somebody in my school said that those sticks were made out of mold. I have no idea where they got that from. But, or how you would even form mold into a stick, but whatever. I remember there was one that came with pepperoni that I tried, and I actually did kind of enjoy it. But here's the deal. I only like pepperoni when it's limp. Like, if it's not baked and, like, crispy. Like, when I'm at work making pizza now, sometimes I'll just eat a piece of pepperoni just straight out of the table because, like, it's cold and I like it that way. As soon as it goes through the oven, I don't understand how people like pepperoni. It's the freaking grossest topping. Okay, and actually I hate sausage more than pepperoni, but I still hate pepperoni, though. Because it's, like, it basically just curls up into this bowl of grease, and it doesn't have a good taste to it, or a good texture to it. I don't get it. I don't get why it's a staple of every single pizza. Like, there's times where I'll just make a bunch of pizzas in a row and every single fucking one of them has pepperoni on it and I get pissed off. I'm like, can you people order something else? Like, you know, we have all this other stuff. Just because it's, like, the classic pizza topping doesn't mean you have to go for it. Like, I'm fully convinced that there's a good subset of people out there that only order pepperoni on their pizzas because they don't want to order cheese. And they're like, oh, well, I don't want to look like a baby and just get a plain pizza, so I'll get pepperoni, I guess. It's like, no, you're giving me more work to do, and you're eating something that you don't want. Don't do it. Like, just say no to pepperoni. It's not good. It's not good, and it doesn't even work. No. So, once again, this was highly off the subject of foods that taste different when you were a kid, because I can't really think of any, other than the shaped Kraft macaroni, which I talked about in another video already. I will point out, though, children's toothpaste, the kind that's like the blue gel, that actually tastes really good, and I wish they made that kind for adults. I hate the fricking mint flavors. Well, that's not true. I hate most of the mint flavors. There's certain ones that are okay, but there's, like, 90% of toothpaste is fucking awful, and then, like, I don't get why the kid flavor is so much better, and then they stop. Like, no, you're not allowed to have that anymore. You're grown up now, and you have to have horrible tastes. So, I don't know. And that also reminds me of a certain brand of soap that I think smells really good, and I don't think I've been able to use it since I was like 10, but I don't know what type of soap it is, so I can't go any further on that subject. All I know is that that particular brand of soap reminds me of when I was, once again, 8. It was late 1996, and I had gotten my first Beanie Baby checklist from some random party store. And, like, I had gotten that, like, I think they, like, my mom and grandma, like, went to this store for some reason. I don't know why. Like, I can't imagine why they were going to a party store. It definitely wasn't for my birthday, because I didn't care about beanie collecting until after my birthday, when I had gotten my first ones from random people in my class. But, they got home from the store and they're like, we got you a list that has all the beanies that there are, and you can keep track of them that way. And there were no pictures or anything, but I remember, like, basically memorizing that list, and I associate that list with the smell of that soap. I couldn't tell you why. Alright, next question. Would you ever travel to Canada? If I had a reason to, maybe. That's highly just dependent on where my life is going at that point. Because I've never actually left the country. I've barely ever left whatever state I happen to be living in, which for more like 90% of my life was Illinois, and more recently Texas. But pretty much the only other states I've ever been to are traveling in between these two, or like the one time that I went to Georgia. And that's about it. And Florida, I guess. And, like, a few times when I was... Like, what is it with parents that take kids on vacations when they're, like, 2? Because they're not going to remember that shit. I went on, like, 5 goddamn vacations before I, like, had permanent memories. Like, I went to the Bahamas, I went to Disney World, I think twice. I went to Myrtle Beach, I don't know why there specifically. Possibly another... Okay, that was 3. Well, if you count both Disney Worlds, that was 4. But it's like, I remember absolutely nothing of any of these, except for when... I think the most recent of those, which I'm going to say was the Myrtle Beach one. I remember being on a mini golf course and backing up into a windmill and, like, hitting my head on it. And I also apparently was, like, in a swimming pool with, like, an inflatable, like, one of those, what do you call it? It's not a life preserver. It's, like, one of those just floaty ring things that was apparently shaped, it had, like, a pig face or something on it. and apparently I, like, fell out of it and started screaming, "My pig!" But the only reason I remember that is because it was videotaped. I vaguely remember the windmill, though. And I also remember being on possibly a different golf course at nighttime with music playing over the speaker. And I don't know the name of the song, but it's the one that goes like na 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 na. I just remember that song playing at a mini golf course at night, and that's about it. Again, getting highly off subject. I kind of plan on this being the case for most of the video. God, but yeah, I would go to Canada if I had a reason to, but I would never just go there randomly. Same goes for any country, except Canada at least is slightly more reasonable because it's, like, landlocked, and, okay, that's a bad way to put it. I wouldn't have to cross an ocean to get there, is what I'm saying, basically. And, this has all been a really long, roundabout way of saying it, but I hate sauerkraut. No, okay. So, actually, that somewhat ties into the next question, which isn't a question at all. It's just the words enemy lasagna, robust below wax, semi-automatic aqua, accompany slacks. Those are just lyrics to Word of Disassociation by Neil Cicierega. I actually listened to that song with Joel right before this recording and did not realize that that was in the comments. So that was really odd. Because here's a pointless tangent that is completely unrelated to any questions that I was given. Basically, Martin went to work today. I had the day off, thank God. I have 2 days off in a row that happen to be on the weekend, and I never get weekends off, after 9 days straight of working, so I kind of wanted them. And apparently, like, right as he gets to work, like, I'm in the bedroom reorganizing some, like, I had gotten a plastic bin to put some of the beanies in. I was, like, moving those around. And I come back out here when I'm done with that to see that my phone has 3 missed calls. I'm like, Jesus Christ. So I check it, and apparently he's like, we're out of large boxes and we need them really bad. Can you tell Joel to, like, bring some over? And I'm like, fuck. So I had to find out if our store could spare any large boxes. So I first have to call the store, and Daryl picks up, and I've talked about him before, but you don't really need to know about him much, I guess. And he's like, oh, let me go find out, and then he leaves for a second. He's like, oh yeah, we have plenty of large boxes, we can spare some. Can you bring us some paper towels? I'm like, I guess. I'm not at work, though. Like, I don't work at the other store. You should know that. But I'll see if they have any to spare, I guess. So I tell Joel, like, hey, we need to go do this, and he's like, what do I get out of it? I'm like, maybe a free pizza. I'll ask if they can make one for you, and they did. But so we go in to the Pizza Hut across the street that I work at, and I see Daryl. He's like, hey man, did you bring the paper towels? I'm like, I just came from home. Like, that was 5 minutes ago that I talked to you. Like, what the fuck? So I get some boxes of, I get the, like, packages of large boxes and leave with those, and we get to go all the way over to the other Pizza Hut, which is like 20 minutes away, drop those off, get some paper towels, bring them back to this one, and go home. And for some reason in the car, God, how did it? I think I just quoted something from Albuquerque. I think out of nowhere I just kind of said, like, I even made Employee of the Month after I put out that grease fire with my face or something. He's like, what the hell is that from? And apparently he had not seen Albuquerque or heard it before, so we listened to that. One of the related videos was something called, God, Word Crimes, I think it was what it was. And then after watching that one, I'm like, hey, we need to see Word Disassociation, so we did that. But, again, that had nothing to do with anything. Okay, next question. Do you have any opinion on the roguelike or roguelite genre? Any particular games you like or dislike? And here's a question for Joel. Does Joel like the Metal Gear series at all? That last one can't be answered because he's not here, but I'm pretty sure the answer is no. I think I've asked if he ever played any of those, and he said he didn't really care. As for me, I barely even know what a roguelike is, but I know Binding of Isaac is one at least, and the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon series is, like, at least similar, if not actually one. So, given the fact that those are the only ones I know of, and I don't have a strong association with either, I'm gonna say that no, I don't like them. But, I couldn't really say why, it's just I never really found one that I got into. With Mystery Dungeon, I did try it once a long time ago, and it just kind of... I was annoyed by... It felt really hard to me for some reason, which is probably laughable because I assume that as far as the genre is concerned, it's probably a really easy game, but that and I was only like 30 minutes into it. But it was something I didn't feel like learning, basically, and I was just like, screw this, I don't care. And then I watched Joel play through, was it Blue Rescue Team, whichever the DS one is, and then Explorers of Sky, and I enjoyed making fun of them, and, like, we ran into some issues, and I had to try and, like, make suggestions with what little knowledge I knew of the mechanics, and like I said, with those games, I really didn't find them that good. There was not really much appealing in those. Binding of Isaac was an interesting one, because I did play that game on stream once, actually, but it was a long time ago. And I think that was the only time I ever did play it. It looks like the kind of thing that would be fun, but the art style and the, like, concept of it is so overly gross and grotesque that it really puts me off. Like, I don't understand why everything has to be, like, shit everywhere and gore and, like, just generally awful. So that's, like, the main reason that I would probably never really majorly get into that game. But, I think there's somebody who actually did want me to play a bit of that as a Patreon reward, so I'll at least go back to it for that. And it's not like it'll pain me to play through it, it's just it wasn't something that really captured my attention all that much. I know that, Vinny's played that game a few times, and I've watched that, and it looked reasonably, like, insane at times, just the massive amounts of power-ups that you can get, and just stupid shit that occurs. So, I don't know, if there was a... Like, the thing there is, I was gonna say, like, if there's a more, like, family-friendly one, then I would play it, but the Pokemon Mystery Dungeons pretty much are already like that. I guess it's mainly because those are kind of, like, turn-based. I liked What of Isaac that I played because it was more action-based, while still maintaining the, like, randomized dungeon and, like, power-up system. So yeah, there's probably games out there that fit that description, and I'm gonna get recommended those, and I can assure you I'm not gonna play them because I don't ever play games that people suggest to me because I'm an asshole. So, yeah, I guess that's all I can say on that one. So, very long rant about corn dogs. No. I've done long rants on other stuff, I can't do one on corn dogs. I don't really like them that much, but they're okay. Like, it's not the kind of thing that I would ever choose to eat usually, but if for some reason I was presented with one, it would be okay. I'm struggling to think if there's anything else I could say about corn dogs. Are they what you'd consider a carnival food? I think that's kind of what they're known for. And carnival food just makes me think of funnel cakes, which are good. There was just kind of a honk outside. Okay, then. So, I can't do a rant on funnel cakes either, but they're death incarnate in terms of, like, nutritional value, but they taste good, so I don't know. So there's a few questions here that actually have a little bit more substance to them, and before I get to those, I'll skip ahead to frosted sugar cookies, yay or nay? Yay. They're usually overpriced. Like, when you go to Walmart, they often have, like, a table right when you come in that has, like, a bunch of baked goods, including the frosted sugar cookies. And I always want to get them, but they're, like, way too much money. So if they ever have some on, like, the discount rack over in, like, the dairy section, I'll get them from there, but they don't usually have them there. So, next one is, I'd like to hear more about your experience playing trombone. So this one, yeah, I can definitely get some reasonable content out of this. Don't mind me. I'm checking how long this needs to go for. So, in 5th grade, or I don't know if it was 5th or the summer between 4th and 5th, but either way, basically they, like, our school gave the opportunity to, like, you could basically choose an instrument to play in the band if you wanted to. Or, more accurately, there was band and there was orchestra. And orchestra is all stringed instruments. I have no idea what the difference between, like, a violin and a viola is, and I know a cello is, like, a bigger one, and then there's probably other ones like that, but I don't know what the hell they are. But there was orchestra and there was band, and for band, you could either pick trumpet, trombone, flute, or clarinet. Those were the only choices. And I have never had any kind of musical interest, really. Like, I mean, that goes with kind of without saying at this point. I think my lack of interest in any type of music is pretty apparent. But for some reason, I decided to try it out. And I guess it might have just been because I never really did anything that would be considered like an extracurricular. Like, I don't care about sports. I was never in any club or anything, so I figured I'd try that out. And of those choices, flute and clarinet immediately out because they're the girl instruments. I'm pretty sure that at my school, like, from 5th grade up until as long as I was in band, I don't believe there was ever a single boy that played flute. There might have been, like, 1 or 2. I think there were a few clarinets, but not very many. And, whatever, how old was I when I was 5? Or when I was in 5th grade, like, what, 12? So, I don't care. I'm gonna be just blatantly sexist and, like, whatever. So, that leaves the other 2 instruments. And I chose the trombone just because I wanted to. There were a lot more people that picked trumpet, and I didn't want to be the, like, common one. And I now have to say that, looking back on this, I don't know if this was specifically part of my reasoning also, but all those instruments have something in common, and that is that you have to learn finger positions. And that's the case for basically any instrument. Like, the stringed instruments do it too, like piano, keyboard kind of does, although I'd argue those are less finger positions and more just learning what keys to press. But either way, trombone's different because it doesn't have any of that. And I don't know, like, I have no experience with the other instruments, so when you're first learning, like, I remember when I learned my instrument. Let's just start with this before I go into that tangent. We basically just started with, like, kind of 1 octave. I think the lowest note that we would play was a B flat on basically just, like, I don't know what you call the octaves or numbers or anything, but it was like a B flat basically right on the staff, or, like, right below it. It's been so long since I've played, I don't actually remember how to read the sheet music anymore. I could read bass clef perfectly fine. I could never really read treble clef, because that was the one that I didn't play. But, I'm trying to think. The spaces are all cars eat gas is how we learned it. So I guess the B flat would have been the second line, I think. Good boys do fine always, I think is what the acronym for that one was. I don't remember. But we would learn from that up to possibly the high B flat. I don't remember if it was that or if it was like a couple notes below it. But it's like, those are kind of like the easy ones to play. And when we're first learning, if you, like basically a way to kind of learn the notes was you could write above each note the position that you put the slide in. So it's like if you forget how to play this one, you look up, oh, that's a 4. Because when you're playing trombone, there's basically 7 positions. The 7th one doesn't get used all that often, but it does exist. I know we didn't start with that. We started with just 6. And it's just, first is the slide is in all the way. Second is it's out like an inch. Third is it basically goes up to right before the bell. Fourth is right after the bell. Fifth is just kind of an arbitrary distance after that, which was kind of the hardest one to learn. And then sixth is like as far as your arm can reach comfortably. And that last one I assume is also kind of arbitrary because people have different lengthed arms, but it worked for me. So it's like if you need to remember, like, oh, I don't remember how to play a C, you put a 6 above it. And that I do actually remember, like, I can't read the music, but I can tell you, like, D, 4th position, E flat, 3rd, F, 1st. Like, I remember that stuff. But yeah, it's like you can write that stuff down really easily, but with the other instruments, it's a lot harder. So, like, if you don't remember how to play this, how do you write, like, hold down your 2nd and 4th fingers on your left hand and your 3rd and 5th on your right? I don't know if that would actually be a note, but it's like, you can't really do that. You just kind of have to know it. And if you're playing a song that's really fast, and you're having to, like, go through a bunch of notes rapidly, I don't know how you have the dexterity and the, like, mental capacity to switch between all of those different positions that quickly. Because, again, if you're doing trombone, like, if you're doing just, like, a series of notes, it could just be, like, 1, 4, 2, 5, whatever. And that's it. You don't have to remember really anything else. But with the other ones, it's, like, way, way more complicated. And trumpet gets it easy there because it only has 3 buttons. The other ones have, like, fucking 10. Like, I don't know how you do that. But either way, that probably played a role in why I picked it. But I don't know if I actually knew that going in, so I feel like I just might have gotten lucky there. But either way, I picked up the instrument, and of course, it's like, it's a school band. Like, you basically bring it into school like once a week, and you spend like an hour in a class with the other people that picked the same instrument, and you learn some basic songs, and then at like the end of the trimester or whatever, then you would do like a little concert thing, and they were usually really shitty. But so it's like there's no way I'm gonna like learn this for anything outside of school. Like, even if I picked a cooler instrument, I don't think I would have ever done anything with it. But yeah, it was just, I'm trying to think what other stuff is worth noting about it. I think when I started there was like maybe like 6 people in the class, or not even the class, but like the grade that also had trombone. And so it was a pretty small group compared to the others. I know the other instruments all had like at least 15 or 20. But yeah, it's like, they of course are like, you gotta bring it home and practice every day, and you'll have to like keep track of how much time you spend practicing, and have your parents sign off on it and turn it in. I didn't do any of that shit. Like, I would write down numbers. My mom would just be like, okay, and sign it. Like, she knew that I wasn't doing it, but didn't care. So basically my only time ever playing it was at school. And I was okay with that because I actually caught on to it fairly quickly and didn't ever really struggle with it that much. Again, partially because it's just an easy instrument, But there were a few things that I didn't really get good at. And to backtrack a bit, I should say that it's not only the slide position that you have to do, it's also, like, how tight you make your mouth. I don't know how else you word that. I think there's a term for it, but I don't remember what it is. Because when you're playing a brass instrument, you don't just blow into it like a flute or like a recorder or whatever. If you've never played one, it's kind of weird. You have the mouthpiece, which kind of is like bowl-shaped, and you don't, if you blow into it, it's not going to do anything. You have to go like, and this noise like vibrates into the instrument and then comes out as a note. And so it's like, in first position, if you go, it's a B flat. If you go, it's an F. If you go, it's a high B flat. And then if you go, it's like a high D or something. Like, I forget exactly. But it's like you have to basically kind of tighten your lips up more. And I don't know how else to describe it. It's like, and it's really weird because there's no way to like really say how hard to do it. Like, making this stupid noise that I'm making. Like, I could go like I could like, god damn it. I could like basically have it transition from low to high, but it's like there's no cutoff point that works for the instrument. It's like if you're trying to do that, it'll just go like it'll just jump between the notes, and I don't know how it does that. It's weird. But so it's like you have that, and then you have tonguing. And tonguing is what I never really learned. Because apparently when you play your notes, you're not just supposed to do the stupid raspberry noise. You're supposed to, like, poke your tongue towards your teeth when you do it. And it kind of, like, gives a little bit of emphasis at the start of the note and makes it, like, start out less farty, I guess. I don't know how else to describe that. And that was just something that I never did. And I don't think I ever really got called out on it either. Like, whenever we were in class and would have to, like, go one by one playing stuff, like, I think it was probably obvious that I wasn't doing it, but I never, like, got in trouble for it. So, I don't know. Maybe it wasn't that obvious. But I never knew how to do that. It just seems like too much work, almost. It's, like, the mouth movements are too bizarre. But anyway. So, like I said, I played that in 5th and 6th grade, and then carried it into junior high. And in junior high... God, was it junior or was it high school? I don't remember if it was... Like, in this, in case... I know the non-American school systems are different, and even in the country, some of them are kind of different. So, when I say junior high, I mean 7th and 8th grade. Some places have middle school instead of junior high, which is 6th, 7th, 8th. And you might have one with the years of the other. Like, I don't know if those are exclusive, but whatever. So, I don't remember when the change happened, but at the start of either 7th or 9th grade, whichever it was, they gave the opportunity to switch to a different instrument. They introduced the baritone, or euphonium, or whatever they called it, the tuba, the saxophone. I think there was like 2 different saxophones. What was the... It wasn't a piccolo, was it? It was something clarinet-ish that makes like a high-pitched whining noise. Was it? It might have been a piccolo, I don't remember. But there was like a few things like that. And they're like, if you want to change your instrument up, you can do that now. And I had absolutely no interest in doing this because, once again, these other instruments all involve finger positions. And screw that. That, and I'm not going to throw out my, like, however many years of experience I have and learn something from scratch. And I assume that if you do this, you have to buy the new instrument. Like, I don't know how expensive they are because my family paid for it or, like, rented it out or whatever. But, like, I don't think it was rented, but it was probably paid in installments. Like, unless you sell the other one back, I assume that's just now a whole other several $100s you have to spend on this stupid instrument. So I didn't do that. But, then came the band camp, and let's not make the American Pie jokes. Band camp was... There was an optional one, I think sometime in junior high, that we did in the summer, where it was just kind of, you went for a few weeks, and you learned a few songs, and then you played them for the parents, and everyone's all like, oh, and then that's basically it. Because, I mean, really, who's gonna care? I remember most of the songs in that one involving like the same freaking like three, like B flat, F, B flat. I think those were the notes. Like just that same thing at like every song. It was really goddamn boring. But then band camp in high school was a whole different beast, because that was when the marching band started. Is this the part where we start kicking? But so, God, the fucking marching band. So this is where you have to play the music while also remembering movement on the field. So gone are the days of sitting comfortably in your chair and you have a stand in front of you with the sheet music that you read off of. Now you have what's called a lyre, which is this metal piece of shit that you hook to like the mouthpiece that extends in front of you and holds up a tiny little sheet of paper with the sheet music, which you have to like hold in with rubber bands or otherwise it blows all around. And you like sometimes in the middle of songs you have to flip it over partway through, which is really annoying. But it's like you have to do that, then you have to remember the like steps to make on the field because you like move in certain formations and stuff. And that was, I hate to actually admit it, but it was actually kind of fun. Like, we would play at football games and stuff, and our football team at this high school was such garbage. They basically never won a game, but our band was actually one of the better ones in the district. So there was just kind of like this running gag that like we were what the people would come for. Like, it wasn't. People would come for the other team is what they would come for. But or obviously just the parents, but either way, it was the summers, like the band camp in summer was not great because you had to get up early and frickin' like march around like an asshole in the middle of the summer carrying this big stupid heavy instrument. It wasn't actually that heavy. I'm glad I didn't have a tuba. And then you just have to kind of learn all the different movements and crap, but it wasn't so bad. It was more entertaining than the basketball games, which is basically just we got the beat 4 million times. No, there were other songs we would play, but it was usually that one. Like every time that we would score or whatever. And this was also the point where the spit valve on my trombone actually started having issues because it's like at the end of the slide, basically, there's a hole that the liquid can drain out of, and there's like a little handle thing that kind of plugs it up with like a spongy bit at the end, and I think somehow it like got offset and so it would leak, and it was really gross. But it's like, if you're playing on carpet, it doesn't really matter. Like, you would never spit on a carpet, but it was just kind of accepted that in the band room, like, that was what you would do, is you'd just drain it out in the carpet. But if you're in this like the stands in like the gym, and you're like playing the stupid "We Got the Beat" for the 400th time, and here I am shaking this fricking slide back and forth, and it's like dripping on the people in front of me, which is fucking nasty. So that had to be fixed pretty quickly, because I didn't want to have that keep happening. But so yeah, that was a thing for a while. And then the summer between my sophomore and junior year, there was a band camp as usual, but I didn't know when it started, because this was the summer where we weren't living at home anymore, because there was like the whole incident with the kid's dad allegedly going after us and all that bullshit. There really should be a segment where I talk about this in full detail. Because I know I've talked about it in, like, at least partial detail at some point, but I don't know if I ever really fully went into what this shit was. But, it was basically just the year that sucked where we were living in hotels, and so we didn't get any mail. So I didn't know when the thing actually started. And I think at some point I had eventually found out when it was starting, but it was, like, a week ago. And, like, at this point, it's like, whatever. So I show up to school for the first day, and I go into the band class, and I'm just like, hey, I wasn't ever able to make it to the, I wasn't ever able to make it to the band camp stuff. Can I still do the marching band stuff, or am I not able to now? And I think they said that, like, the first game isn't for a couple of weeks, like, you should be able to learn it in time. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. So I would learn all the stuff, and then the day of the first football game was the first day that I didn't come into school and basically said fuck it, and that was when I dropped out. Because, again, I was in a hotel that was like an hour and a half drive away from school, so I had to get up at like frickin' 5 a.m., and then my grandma would drive me there, which, bless her heart that she put up with all this, but, so it's like I had to go through this ridiculously long drive there, and then go through the school day, ridiculously long drive back, and then I'd have whatever homework I had and have to go to bed early because I'd have to get up so early. And it just got so freaking annoying that I was like, I don't want to go to this stupid game at night. Like, because whenever there was a game, as soon as school would get out, like 3 o'clock or whatever, you would just stay and you would practice a bit. And then, like, when the game actually starts, which was at, like, what, fucking 8 o'clock, it was really late, you'd play at the game, wait in the stands, and all that stuff, and you wouldn't get home until, like, midnight. And so, knowing the fact that I was gonna have to go through all this bullshit, and then, like, get home probably at, like, 1, 2 o'clock, and then have to get up again at 5, I don't know if I would have. It was probably a Friday. But either way, I just didn't want to deal with it. And I was like, I really just don't want to go. And that was kind of when I decided to just stop going altogether. And then, I did go back to school eventually. If you're unaware of the full story, this was the first half of my junior year. I basically missed most of it. And then I went back to a different school in the second half of that year when I moved in with my friend Harrison. But, either way, I basically quit on the band at that point, and I could have continued it at the other school if I still had my instrument, but I didn't, because it, along with most of my other stuff, was in my grandma's car, or SUV or whatever, and the entire car mysteriously vanished one day because the asshole of the story, who I haven't mentioned yet, apparently, like, got into a wreck with it or something, and I have no idea what happened to it. So, I'm trying to remember what actually survived. I know that I had, like, my GameCube and a bunch of games and stuff in the car, and I had actually taken out Pikmin 2, and I think the GameCube itself... Well, I mean, I would have taken out the GameCube itself. I don't remember if I had actually kept that in the hotel or if I had put it back in the car, but I know Pikmin 2 survived, and, like, my Game Boy Advance, my copies of, like, Pokemon Sapphire and the 2 Metroid games. And I think that was it. I think I lost everything else. So I didn't have the instrument anymore. I didn't have any of the games anymore. So fun stuff, basically. But what this is all eventually coming down to is, if I ever had access to a trombone again, I might remember how to play it vaguely, but I would never have any desire to, really. because it's kind of a shitty instrument. Like, I have no desire to be in a band, even just to be safe. Okay, sorry, that was an obscure joke. Nobody's gonna get that. But yeah, so that was a long story. I didn't mind telling it though. I got to make stupid raspberry noises, and is there anything else worth talking about on this subject? Because I don't know when I'm ever gonna get back to it. I just remember we had Mr. Caliendo and Mr. Caliendo, the two band directors that were father and son. There was, I think at the end of 6th grade, for like the end of a concert, there was kind of like, we had the choice of either doing like a potluck thing that wasn't really a potluck, but everybody brought in like some kind of snack, like chips or cookies or something. It's like you could either do that, or they would just order pizza. And so, big Mr. like, there's big and little Mr. Caliendo. The big one, like, obviously he was the dad, but he was also kind of fat. And then the younger one was, like, skinny, and so we would just call them big and little Mr. Caliendo. But, the big one was like, I really like the pizza, but, and like, the little one's like, but you can just get pizza anytime, like, this is, like, the only opportunity you're ever just gonna have, this full table of, like, you've got your sweet and you've got your salty, and everything's there. And I agreed with that. But for some reason, the pizza won, and it was really stupid. But it's like, I remember that happening. I remember there was this one concert-ish thing that we went to where we were playing at, like, a different school, and we had gone there like a day in advance to basically learn where we were going to be and all that. And apparently they had told us that your coats and instrument cases would go into like this back room somewhere, and I wasn't paying attention, and so the concert starts, I'm the only person with this other shit, and I'm just like, okay, well, I can put the coat on the back of my chair, and I can put the instrument case under the chair, that's fine. So it was there, but it wasn't, like, massively in the way or anything. But then we had to go wait in the stands for, like, an hour while a different band played. And here I am wearing this stupid coat, carrying this big, stupid piece of plastic. It was really annoying. So that was a thing. There was the other band director that was, like, this Italian dude that, like, I don't actually I don't know if he was Italian. I know that he was going on a vacation to Italy over the summer and wanted to like teach himself the language before he went, and for some reason decided to share this with the class. And I thought that sounded highly excessive. Like, who learns an entire language for a vacation? But all right. And it was thanks to him that I watched Shrek for the first time, because there was a day toward the end of the year once where we didn't really have any new songs to learn or anything to do, so he just kind of wheeled in a TV and we watched Shrek. And this was, I guess this was in high school, because the only reason we were able to watch the whole movie is because the high school had 4 90-minute periods, so there was like enough time to get through a movie, basically. But I remember there was, like, the one thing I remember this guy saying when we were watching the movie, because there was a lot of people talking, and he was, like, telling people to quiet down. He's like, Eddie Murphy doesn't talk slow, Eddie Murphy talks fast. If you're talking over him, you're not going to hear what he says. For some reason, that just stood out to me. God, what else was in the band? I mean, I was in it for frickin' 6 years. You'd think I'd remember more of it, but it all just kind of blends together. We learned some kind of cool songs. We'd play, like, Iron Man, a lot of, like, weird 60s surfer music. I think Stairway to Heaven. Yeah, because that was the theme of the Homecoming one year, so we did that song. We did the Indiana Jones theme. For some reason, some Sesame Street music, couldn't tell you why. And speaking of Shrek, there was... the orchestra actually played, like, the best of Shrek at one point, and this was long before the meme. So, and I didn't know what they were playing either. So, I'm just imagine you're in, like, the school auditorium or gym or whatever. I think it was just a gym. And you just have, like, these 50 violinists. I'm like, what the fuck? But no, it was basically just the songs from that movie. God, what other stuff did we play? Like I said, it was just a bunch of, like, weird surfer music. We Got the Beats. I frickin' memorized that one because we played that 4,000,000 goddamn times at the basketball games. Plus the fight song. That song was annoying. And my grandma got it as her ringtone for some unforsaken reason, because she had way too much school spirit for me. I have other questions, but I'm just dragging this one out because I have to be done pretty soon. The questions I'll have to say for next time are stories about my history of driving, and Disney, and the origin story of when I began with LPs and YouTube, which I have told before, but I think it's been a long time, so I don't mind telling it again. But yeah, band was kind of fun. There are still times occasionally where I actually have dreams where I'm back in it, and I still actually remember, like, how to play notes, surprisingly. Like I said, I can't read the music, but if you tell me we need a high E flat... Actually, shit, what is a regular E flat is 3rd position. A high one would be, let's see, B flat is 1st, then B, C, E. It would be 5th, I guess? I think? No, hold on. This is important, I gotta get it right. Because we have 1st position is B flat, 2nd is B natural, 3rd is C, because there is no C flat. 4th is D flat, 5th is D. So, yeah, it was actually 6th position for a high E flat, and then 7th for a natural E, and then back to 1st for an F. The fricking F is ridiculously high. Those ones hurt to get out. And then there were other notes that were even higher than that, but... yeah, we had, like, a kind of a limited octave that you could play in. And, like I said, the 1st position, low B flat, was kind of like the default lowest note, but it could go lower than that if you needed to. But it'll always turn into, like, and it would sound like shit. But anyway, I'm done. This was a long story. Alright, well, I just got done recording an hour of bullshitting, mostly about band, and that was fun. And, so, basically, off-screen, I have, followed a video and checked every single bottle location up until I found the one that I needed, which is number 26, according to this video. So, there he is. I don't know how I missed this one, but there it is. I feel like I know this level fairly well now, I say, and now I will get lost on the way back to the base. But, yeah, did this need to take an hour? Absolutely not, but look at all the great stories we got out of it, such as violins playing Shrek, and Big Mr. Caliendo really liking that pizza. Classic stories that will live on forever. I have no idea. I'm just wanting to get back to the base at this point, and next time we will actually make progress in the stage. And like I said, there's other questions I didn't get to. I kind of had a feeling that I wouldn't. But I'm okay with that. We can save them for next time. Not the next video, necessarily, because I'm going to possibly try to talk about the game itself. But I'm sure there'll be more bottle missions. Oh, fuck off. No, no, oh my god, why? Which I know, actually, this is fine. I don't know why there was a warning sign there. I hope I didn't, like, cancel out anything that I was doing. We can buy this now. And I can sell a bunch of shit. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, this part of the video didn't really need to exist, but I wanted to show getting the last bottle at least. And brown.